This is Gone at 21, Katelyn Markham's death investigation. You're listening to Evidentiary Notes. This episode is going to look at false police statements made to the media just over a month after the last polygraph took place in Fairfield, Ohio. This has nothing to do with me having an axe to grind with the police or wanting to get the police back or anything like that. It has to do with my experience with the way they investigated Katelyn's case and are investigating Katelyn's case. Does some of it make me mad at times? Yes. There is a dead girl, and an aggressive investigation is warranted. I don't believe Katelyn's getting an aggressive investigation. The way the police handle this case and their comments are as important to this investigation as the witnesses and friends from John and Katelyn's inner circle. Why? Because the police are in charge of the investigation. The police should act and react in a certain way when given tips and evidence on the case. The community of Fairfield, Ohio deserves nothing less. If a law enforcement agency doesn't want to or can't comment truthfully about an incident, then they can simply say two words: no comment. Otherwise, the public should be told the truth. The police representative speaking to the public should probably not lie about specifics of a case when evidence can be presented to the contrary. What does this show? The department is trying to cover their anatomy. You can be assured the Fairfield Police Department is a good public relations agency. They have to be. But what they say, is it always true? What you're about to hear is very important to me as an investigator. Remember Tammy telling me to not deal with Fairfield PD and to only speak with Vance Patton of the Indiana State Police? If Fairfield PD will lie about small details to the public, then what else are they willing to do to make themselves look good in the public eye? And do I really want to work with them if they aren't following up on my leads in a timely manner? Well, did Tammy have a point? Let's dive into the facts. But real quick, you heard me mention that I was going to do an episode called What Police? This is not that episode. So, after the investigation, that episode will be published. This episode is only going to deal with the Fairfield Police and what they said in the media after my first visit to Fairfield, Ohio in February of 2015. We are now going to listen to a portion of a news clip about the polygraphs that I gave and David Markham asking for a new Fairfield PD detective to take over the investigation from the current detective who had been on the case for almost 4 years at this point. By the way, this is Mr. Markham's third request for a new Fairfield detective.
This is really the first hard theory that we've had.
Failed polygraph tests. A private investigator's findings revealed in the Katelyn Markham homicide as her father now calls on Fairfield Police to put a new detective on the case.
It's still the same frustration. Still the same waiting, another day, another week. What is going to happen? Something has got to happen now.
Dave Markham tells me on 3 different occasions he's requested a new detective be placed on this case. He says a new set of eyes is needed now more than ever because of what I'm holding right here. A private investigator's findings, including failed polygraph tests from 2 people in Katelyn's inner circle.
Well, it's been almost 4 years, and absolutely nothing has happened.
Frustration growing for Dave Markham.
It is going nowhere now, and it's time for a change.
Time for a new detective to investigate, he says. Katelyn was 21 when she disappeared. 2 years later, a scrapper found her remains near an Indiana creek. Her death ruled a homicide, but investigators haven't made any arrests. About 6 months ago, private investigator J. Ryan Green from Florida was hired to take a look at the case. Green interviewed more than a dozen people, including Katelyn's fiancé, John Carter. 5 people took polygraphs. Carter was not one of them. Based on those tests, Green narrowed his investigation down.
Subject 1 took a polygraph and failed the polygraph in epic proportion per the polygraph examiner.
Another friend, Green says, failed questions directly related to Katelyn's death and disappearance. The PI says he believes his evidence shows people who knew Katelyn were around the night she disappeared. He says something happened among friends that August night, causing Katelyn's death.
The individuals there panicked and dumped the body.
Green says he handed his findings over to Fairfield Police. They have yet to question those 2 people.
When there's results like this handed in your lap and nothing happens, yeah, it's frustrating and it makes me angry. It makes me very angry.
And Fairfield Police told me this afternoon they have been in contact with those 2 people, haven't interviewed them yet. They tell me right now they're in the process of trying to repair a relationship they say was lost after the PI contacted them. As for putting a new detective on the case, Fairfield Police say it's not going to happen. They say that would be counterproductive.
That was a story by WLWT Channel 5. Karen Johnson was the reporter. She's been a real friend to the Katelyn Markham case. Now, this was a little over a month, as I said, that this report came out. And I don't know if you heard it, but David Markham was denied a new detective. And then this. The police are in the process of repairing a relationship lost after the PI contacted them, referring to Ryan and Heather. Wow. Let me ask this. Don't you have to have a relationship before you can repair a relationship? Listen to this. Has anybody contacted you in reference to this case, the police or anybody?
No. No.
Ryan, I had one more question to ask you.
Certainly.
Has anybody contacted you from either police department, Indiana or Fairfield, or any other private investigator? Have they contacted you in reference to this incident?
Nobody that's of anyone other than my circle of friends has not talked to me at all. Never. No police, no investigators, nobody.
So let me get this straight. You're repairing a relationship that the PI destroyed, basically, is what you're saying, with 2 people you have never spoken to before. All right, I think we got it now. It's called trying to discredit something, trying to save face, trying to, I'll say it for real this time, cover your ass. Good try. But Ryan and Heather, with those clips we just heard, proved that the Fairfield Police Department lied about repairing a relationship because they didn't have one in the first place. So let's listen to another kick in the gut and a complete lie and fabrication in reference to the Fairfield Police Chief Mike Dickey. This was in an article in the Journal News, and reporter Lauren Peck wrote this article. Lauren has been covering the Katelyn Markham case from the beginning. what he said, and I'm reading from the article. There will be no change in detective assigned to the Markham case. He agreed that the people Green has pointed to as having information need to be talked to. Quote, we are aware of that information on the individuals, and based on their conversation, do not want to talk to police or anyone, Dickey said. They had a bad experience with him, Green. Dickey said, according to his officers, Green did not make an appointment ahead of time for the detective to attend the interviews, but called her when they were already on site. Let me repeat that. Dickey said, according to his officers, Green did not make an appointment ahead of time for the detective to attend the interviews, but called her when they were already on site. She, the detective, was in the middle of work on a critical matter at the time, Dickey said. It wasn't possible for her to get there at that instant, or at the instant. Now, let me set the record straight with facts. I contacted Detective Rebecca Irvin the day before, February 24th, 2015, the day before Ryan Isaac took his polygraph, via text and a phone call. Let's look at the text first. My text says, if Ryan blows this test tomorrow, do you want to come interview him? ? While you are doing that, I can get Heather and talk to her, or get her to talk to me about it. Detective Irvin's response, okay, yeah, that would work. Let me repeat that. Okay, yeah, that would work. If you don't believe me, go to the Gone at 21 Facebook page and look at the actual text. Pay attention to the date at the top of the first text. There are two texts. That's the only way I could show the date. At the bottom of the first text, you will see the beginning of my text about her coming to interview Ryan if he fails, and I would interview Heather. The second text shows my text in full and Detective Irvin's response. You will see other texts that I have left alone and that you might find interesting as well. Now, if I had those texts on my phone, you can damn well believe Detective Irvin had them on her phone for the chief to look over before making the untrue comment about me not making arrangements ahead of time. I also called Detective Irvin and told her specifics about the time of Ryan's polygraph and location. I'm sure the chief could also check that out too before making those ridiculous comments that were just said to save face. The text says it all, though. A lie was told about arrangements not being made with the detectives ahead of time. And I can tell you, I was fuming. Because it makes me look bad. It makes me look like the one at fault. And I wasn't. But I guess when you don't do your job, you gotta blame others and lie about the facts. This also tells me a great deal about the character of the officers or the detectives assigned to the Katelyn Markham case, as well as the administration at the Fairfield Police Department. I'm also going to include two other texts from me to Detective Irvin. One of them is advising her not to call Ryan Isaacs, just to kind of surprise him at his house. And the other text is going to be for me to Detective Irvin about the progress a couple days later. When I was driving back to Florida, I texted her to see if she had spoken to Heather and her response. So those will be up on the Facebook page as well. Her response is pretty interesting. Make sure you check those texts out on the Gone at 21 Facebook page. Next time on Gone at 21, Matt Rokamp gives me a possible stalker's name, and a man interjects himself into the case with crazy, crazy stories. So make sure you're all caught up before next Friday, March 17th, for the Investigation, Episode 4. Please subscribe and like, and if you're listening on iTunes, please rate and review. The podcast got a lot of ratings and reviews since last Friday, so I want to take this time to say thank you. We are only 28 shy of the goal, 75. If you want to help support this podcast, while you're at the Gone at 21 Facebook page reading the texts from Detective Irvin and I, go ahead and check out the link pinned to the top of the wall. It's a GoFundMe link. Just press it, and any amount you're willing to give will be greatly appreciated. Until next time, I'm Jay Ryan. Take care.